we will discuss about development communication. And now you people know what is development. You people know what is communication. And when today we will discuss about development communication, you will understand that why communication is needed for development. And basically you can say communication for development. Today we will study and how it evolved in the time being, how development communication became important. We will go a little bit to the evolution of this field, development communication, and then later on we will discuss about what is it all about, right? So first, understand about different perspective of development communication. Development communication has been defined in several ways by economic development experts, sociologists, and communication experts. For all these fields, for economic development experts, development is different, and on sociological aspect and communication aspect, development communication is different thing. If you go to the economic development expert, for them, they will say that communication of technology, communication of new innovations, these are important for development communication. If you would go to sociologists, they will say that communication for social change is important. In relation to India, you will find that we have lot more problem in society. There is a hierarchy, and that hierarchy, you cannot break that hierarchy. That is fixed hierarchy, and it is based on birth. You can change your religion, but you cannot change your caste. So this kind of rigid system we have. So if you would go to sociologists, they would say that communication is needed for this social change. We need to change our society first, and this would be the development communication. And for communication expert, they would say that communication is needed to aware people, to give them new ideologies, to give them new practices, so that by adopting those practices and those ideologies, they would change, and finally society would be developed. So development communication has been defined in several ways, as we discussed, and the definition differ from region to region also, depending on the definer's view of development. Region to region, as I told you, that region means for a village, development is different, for a city, development is different, and even region to region, for Bhutan, development is happiness, for India, development is economic growth. So these changes region to region, right? So some on some places, if you go to Afghanistan, there they want freedom, they want liberty. So for them, development is getting freedom from all those Talibani people. So definition differ. So development, as we discussed yesterday also, that development is very subjective term. And if we don't give any reference to development, it would be really difficult to understand that what kind of development we are talking about. But Hedne, one of the scholars, defines development communication as the appropriate intervention in collective affairs according to a standard of improvement. Now they see these three highlighted keywords. What it says, that appropriate intervention. And what is appropriate intervention? This is very important, very much important to understand. For example, suppose you go to a village and you want to introduce new technology in farm sector. you want that farmers should adopt hybrid seeds, they should adopt tractors. So all these kind of things they should adopt, right? Now you go there and you ask them to adopt all these things. Now you find that there are farmers who have very small land, and on that small land, farming from tractor is not possible, because that land is in a place where you have to cross many farmlands belonging to other people. So ultimately, you find that for this small land, bull is okay, right? So for these people, these small landholders, people would certainly not go for adopting tractors. Again, you find that for hybrid seeds, there is a one drawback with hybrid seeds, that you cannot use it again. Suppose you adopt hybrid seeds, and out of the production, what farmers do in traditional farming, that whatever they grow, they keep some of their produce as a seed to be used in next season. But this is not possible with hybrid seeds. Hybrid seeds you can buy only, and you can use that hybrid seeds, and after that you cannot reuse the production as seed. So this is the another problem with that seed. And now small landholders may be using their land for sustenance. They may be using their lands to have appropriate amount of grains in their household for whole year, and that's why they follow traditional farming. They have two bulls, they use their bulls, they go and produce whatever they want, and they keep some of the amount as seeds for to be used in next season. So the thing that you want to introduce new technology in farm sector, that will fail. Why it will fail? Because intervention is not appropriate. I give you another example. Take the example of Cuba. Fidel Castro, he died recently, but Cuba became free, and after that, Cuba, there was a communist government in Cuba, and that's why Soviet Union started helping Cuba. And because Cuba was very close to USA, that's why there was some diplomatic thing also in helping Cuba. But due to help of Soviet Union, Cuba became an industrialist nation, right? They have big factories, they have these kind of production units where thousands of people used to work together. But when Soviet Union failed in 1989, when Soviet Union collapsed, and it was divided into 12 different nations, then so obviously Russia stopped helping Cuba after the disintegration. So what Cuba did? Cuba they stopped their big factories, they dismantled their big factories, and they started small scale industries. And with 10 people working in one unit, 15 people working in another unit, and by doing this thing, they sustained. And even in Cuba, Havana is the capital of Cuba. If you go there, you will find that bull farming is taking place in Havana. They have small lands, suppose the kind of, we have colony parks. In the same manner, they have small lands in the capital also. And that small land, they used to do bull farming. So you may understand that according to situation, Cuba changed themselves. Just focusing on introducing new technologies, new factories, big industries, this would not be always helpful. So considering all these things, wherever you go, suppose you are going to a village, So you will have to understand the situation first, and what is required, what will be beneficial for the villagers, and if then you will intervene, then that will be appropriate intervention. I hope you got this part, that what is appropriate intervention. And in collective affairs means it should not be personal kind of thing. It should be beneficial for a big whole community. It should be beneficial for a group of people. So appropriate intervention in collective affairs and according to a standard of improvement. There are certain standards set by UN, set by our nation itself, and according to those intervention, right, appropriate intervention should be, according to those standards of improvement, appropriate intervention should be done. So Headness says that this is development communication, whether you are doing appropriate intervention or not. If you are not doing appropriate intervention, mere intervention just for the sake of intervention is not a development communication, right? Now, what is appropriate intervention? As I discussed here also, that it obviously varies according to class, culture, historical context, relations of power. So, if you go to the downtrodden class, who are poor people living in slums, there, if you want to introduce certain thing, intervention will be different. Right. Suppose I want to introduce ICT. Suppose I want to introduce WhatsApp communication for their benefits. So it may be successful in cities and in different class, those class who can own a mobile phone or smartphone, but that would not be helpful for the class who are living in slums and who don't have appropriate basic facilities. I want to give another example. So I have seen so many people who keep questioning poor people that they don't wash their clothes. They live in very clumsy way. So we keep questioning them. But do you know that what is their salary, what kind of income they have, and in that income, how much they can spend on these kind of items, right? So you have to understand that class first, and accordingly you have to intervene. Culture is also important, and if your intervention is not appropriate with, I mean, it is not syncing with the overall cultural norms, that would not help. Suppose you want to bring empowerment in the society, right? And for that empowerment, you want that girls should stop wearing sari, and girls should stop wearing their clothes, which is they are wearing from, very long period back. So you want them to stop wearing all these things, and then they will feel empowered. So it would not be accepted, because culturally it is not accepted, right? So you have to find a proper way of intervention, and then a historical context also. It is also important. Historically, a class may be backward. Historically, a class may be forward, and accordingly you have to plan your intervention. So these are development communication. So from this slide, you have to understand that development communication is appropriate intervention in collective affairs according to a standard of improvement. Now, there are certain other definitions also, as given by Hedne. This is another definition. It is characterized by the use of mass media that consider people as audience ready to be influenced by messages. Right? Development. This is, this definition gives more importance to mass media, and it says that mass media is a channel. Through mass media, you have to provide them development related messages, and how it will work, that the audience, the people should be ready to be influenced by the message. It means they are ready to get messages from mass media. It means they know that they are backward, and the TV and newspapers or these mass media will give some information, and by adopting those information, they will become developed. So this is one definition, and this definition is very much limited, because it is a dominant paradigm. We will come to that topic, that how there was a time when there was a dominant view that if developing countries or backward countries would adopt the culture of West, or the development standards of West, they would become developed. So this definition is somehow propagating only. So second definition is development communication is communication with a social conscience. It takes humans into account. You know, I mean, development communication is a social. I mean, you must have certain conscience in yourself. You must think that yes, you want to change something in the society. You must have sensitivity towards human beings. You must have certain level of sensitivity to those people who are poor, who don't have basic facilities, who don't know how to change their lives. So development communication is somehow that you must be very much close. You must have empathy towards those people who are in bad condition. So this is second definition. Now third, Nora Kubral. I mean, Nora Kubral, this is a very much accepted kind of definition, and Nora Kubral, it is said that Nora Kubral actually started the discourse of development communication. Before that, development communication was, people used to discuss, but it became a particular stream when Nora Kubral started talking about development communication. And according to Nora Kubral, development communication as the art and science of human communication, applied to the speedy transformation of a country from poverty to a dynamic state of economic growth, and makes possible greater economic and social equality and the larger fulfillment of human potential. Now you will see that there are various highlighted keywords, and apart from these highlighted keywords, each and every word in this definition is need to be discussed properly. For example, it says that development communication as the art and science. It is art also, and it is science also. Why it is an art? It is an art because if you are framing a message, right? So framing a message itself is an art. If you are making a wall painting just to influence people to adopt certain things, if you are making a social advertisement, right, for TV, that itself is an art. Writing a message, for example, Do Boon Jindagi Ki. Think about the person who wrote this line, and it was very influential. Satyagrah se Swachhagrah tak. Now, these kind of lines are basically artistic lines. You need a certain level of artistic qualities to write these kind of lines, right? So that's why development communication is an art. And why it is a science? It is a science because for doing development communication, you have to go through several steps, scientific steps. It means first you have to go to the field, you have to find that what is the problem and identification of the problem. Then you will come and you will frame a message. After that, you will pick a channel, and then you will go and provide those messages to the audience. Then you will get feedback whether that messages was helpful for them or not. And then after getting feedback, you will reframe your message. So all these steps are scientific steps. So development communication is an art and as well as science also, and of human communication. What we keep humans in center. Why we do this kind of communication? We want to change the living condition of human beings. It is a human communication and apply it to the speedy transformation. It means the change should be speedy. It means that those economies and those countries or those communities who are in poor condition, who are downtrodden, their transformation should be speedy, right? And from poverty to a dynamic state of economic growth. It means from poverty to economic growth. It means economic growth should start instantly and make possible greater economic and social equality. It is not only economic growth. Development communication is needed for bringing economic and social equality also, right? Economic equality means that everybody should have equal chance to grow, right? Social equality means that, and also economic equality means that everybody distribution of wealth, as we discussed in previous classes, that how distribution of wealth is in very bad shape in every country. In our India, as we discussed, that 1% population of this country hold 58% of national resources, right? So the economic growth should be there, but at the same time, economic equality should be there. Social equality also. There should not be any social discrimination. In our country, it is, right? So we have to stop this social discrimination also, and we have to bring social equality and the larger fulfillment of human potential. It means that whatever potential a person have, right? That fulfillment must be, that potential must be fulfilled. And how it will be fulfilled? When there will be social equality, everybody will get equal chance, right? So if you will see this definition, you will find that each and every aspects of a development communication is integrated in this definition. That's why this definition is accepted by everybody. First time, population, nutrition, health, education, housing, employment, all these things were brought under development. Before that, economic focus was on economic growth, but after that you will find that all these things, especially after 1990, when human development index and all these things started coming up, so our focus changed, and we also started focusing on nutrition, health, education, housing, employment. All these things are under under development, right? So this is the definition. Now one another scholar, Srinivas Rajmelkote, and Steve Shape. He also contributed immensely to the field. He wrote a book, and there are three editions: 91 edition, 2001 edition, 2015 edition. And in his book, Communication for Development, Melkote tried to trace the trajectory of the concept. It means that how the concept of development kept changing in different era. In 1991, development was basically related to development communication in third world, right? In this book, in 1991 edition, he tried to focus on this thing, that how development communication whole discussion and whole discourses was related to how to bring development in third world countries. In 2001 book, he emphasized on empowerment, that how development communication changed its focus, and he started talking about empowerment of those classes who are downtrodden. For example, women empowerment, empowerment of tribal societies, empowerment of backward classes, right? These kind of things started coming into focus. And in 2015 book, he talked about that how another dimension added to development, that was social justice. That if there is no social justice, if there is no social equality, if there is no freedom, then all these development empowerment is not beneficial. So this is how Srinivas Rajmelkote tried to understand development, and through his three editions of book, we can understand that how the discourse of development communication changed over time. There was a period when focus was for bringing development in third world countries. Then focus shifted to empowerment, and then after that it shifted to social justice. Now in phases, just try to understand that how development communication started taking shape. Post World War II, attention was mainly on Europe. As we know that, and we discussed also that after Second World War, how the whole world was divided into two poles, and one was headed by United States of America, and another was headed by Soviet Union, and both were different systems. One was supporter of democracy and capitalism, and another was supporter of socialism and communist way of governance. So that because both were based on different philosophies, so certainly post-war II, in during post-World War II, attention was mainly on Europe. How to Russia or Soviet Union always tried to influence more and more area of Europe uh, according to their own philosophy, and similarly, USA also tried to uh, um, bring different countries under the umbrella of capitalism. So, focus was mainly on Europe. In 1950s and 60s, and even at that time, we will find that how focus was in Germany, focus was on other beginning, because all the countries were devastated due to during Second World War. So that's why they started thinking about their development only. And after that, in 1950s and 60s, economic development assistance focused on third world countries, those newly independent countries like India, Sri Lanka, China, African nations. So this was the period. Basically, you will find that majority of countries got independence during this period, 1945 to 1960. So this was the period. So they started assisting third world countries, and not assisting. Basically, they were trying to influence these countries also, and according to their own philosophies, and they were trying to bring them under a particular way of development. Like America always wanted to promote capitalism, and Soviet Union always tried to promote socialism. And they also wanted to invest in these countries because they had money, and they wanted to invest in these countries so that they keep getting profits out of these countries even after getting them independence, even after giving them independence. So that's why in the 1950s, 60s, focus was on third world countries, how to bring development, how to assist them to establish big industries, how to assist them in technological sector. So focus was on this in this area. In 1970s, then World Bank President Robert McNamara emphasized on basic needs and integrated rural development. 1970s, you will find that shift changes, and he started talking about basic needs, that it's okay, development, big industries and economic growth is happening, but what about poor people who are not getting basic needs, where rural population are getting nothing. So that's why he started talking about emphasis on rural development and providing basic needs to the population. 1980s, structural adjustment program came, SAP, and it started focusing on reducing government spending and privatizing government agencies. Because before all these third world countries, when they got independence, government were in center of economic affairs, and the government was trying to deal to run economy. So it is in 1980s SAP came, and it is UN started this kind of programs, and it started asking countries to privatize things, and so that government should focus on another area, and these businesses should be run by private sector. This is also, you can say that this is a promotion of capitalism, because capitalism always favors privatization. So you can see it in this manner also, in this way also. But obviously, in 1980s, whole focus was into bringing economic reforms, And that's why we'll find that after 1980s, India also brought so many economic reforms. Even now, we are doing this. In 1990s afterwards, concerns for human rights, social justice, free speech, gender equity, sustainable development, all these things came into focus. And that's where we find that after 1990s, Human Development Index, first Human Development Index came in 1991. And after that, so many indexes brought focusing these things: human rights, social justice, free speech, gender equity. And even we discussed sustainable development goals, we will find that our focus of development means that we have to bring all these things: human rights, social justice, all these things we have to promote in our country, and then only we would be developed. Then why needed? Why development communication is needed, right? So a large section of society are outside the threshold of development. Why it is needed? People say that why development communication is needed. So why this is the reason why it is needed. Why development communicators need to go to these people, and they will have to give them necessary information. They will have to make them aware so that they can come out of the poverty. They come out of the their real position, and they can start moving towards development. So a large section of society are outside the threshold of development. This is the first reason. So that's why there is a need to reach out to them who cannot read and write. Even there are illiterate people. They don't know anything about what is how to change their life. So we have to reach out to them and to make them understand that how can they change their lives. Do not get food to eat. They don't have food even. Have no shelter on their head. Lacks access to basic health and sanitation amenities. Live in conflict zones, have no security or freedom to speak. All these things are, and if on each and every point, if you will try to see your surroundings, whole world, you will find that there are millions of people who are in this condition, and that's why development communication is needed to address their issues and do the needful. We have to address their issues, and whatever is required, what they need, we have to provide them. Then only society will start changing. So I think I should stop here.